Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel and my name is Paramjeet Singh. So in the last video we discussed about the internal load balancer, and this is going to be the lab for internal load balancer. We'll create a demo and we'll create a virtual network, and the second step is to create 3 virtual machines. One is virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, and we'll also create virtual machine test. This test virtual machine is going to be used for testing purpose. Like, we'll not create IIS services on virtual machine test, but yes, we'll ping virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2 from this virtual machine. Like when we talk about public load balancer, you can ping the virtual machine using the public IP, but to test the virtual machine on the same network, we'll have to create a client machine, like a testing machine, by which we can ping the private IP so that we can get the results. So I'll show you in the video. Next, we go ahead and create a load balancer. We take the remote and install IIS services on virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2, and then we'll ping the private IP from virtual machine test, and this private IP is going to be the IP address of load balancer. So let's go to the Azure portal and do this lab. Now once I'm on the Azure portal, I'll go ahead and create a virtual network. Create a resource group, so it is going to be RGLB, my load balancer resource group. And the name of the virtual network is going to be VNet load balancer, and I choose the location as East US. Now go to next option, which is IP address. So it is taking 10.0.0.0, so I'll keep this IP range as it is. I'm not making any changes. Review and create. Validation pass. Let's go and create the virtual network. So I click on create. Okay friends, you can see my virtual network is deployed, so I'll go ahead and create a virtual machine, which is my virtual machine 1. I select the same resource group, RGLB. This is virtual machine 1. Select the region as East US. Now here I need to create availability set. So I select the availability set and create a new one. So this is my AS availability set. Click OK. Image is server 2012. Username administrator 1. So I'll check these 2 ports, which is HTTP and HTTPS. I'll keep the networking to VNet load balancer. So make sure the VNet load balancer virtual network is selected here. Then go ahead and click on review and create. Okay friends, you can see my virtual machine 1 is deployed. I'll go back to virtual machines and create my second virtual machine, which is VM2. Select the same resource group, VM2, keep the region as East US, and select availability set. Now I select my AS. Now keep these 2 ports on, HTTP and HTTPS. Make sure that the networking is selecting VNet LB. Yes, it's selecting VNet LB. Review and create. Validation is passed and I click on create. Okay guys, you can see that my virtual machine 2 is also deployed. So I go back to virtual machines and create my test virtual machine, which is going to be VM test. Select the resource group RGLB VM test. same region East US, availability set. Okay, you make sure you switch on these two ports, HTTP and HTTPS. Go to networking and make sure that VNet LB is selected, because we need to create this client machine on the same network. So VNet LB, review and create. Create. Now it is going to create my virtual machine. Okay guys, you can see my test virtual machine is also deployed, so I'll go ahead and create a load balancer. Create. Select the same resource group and I name it as my LB. The load balancer should be internal and the SKU should be basic. Please remember these steps. Now select the virtual network. It is going to be VNet LB. Keep the IP address assignment as dynamic. Review and create. Validation pass. Create the load balancer. Okay friends, you see the load balancer is also created, so let's go to load balancer. Okay, now once I'm on the load balancer, I need to configure these 4 steps for front-end IP configuration, backend pools, health probes and load balancing rules. So front-end IP configuration is already configured automatically while deploying the load balancer. Now I go to backend pools, I create the backend pool. So my backend pool. Now the network is already selected here, so I select associated to as virtual machines. I click on add. So friends, once I click on add, I get these 3 virtual machines listed, but I'm not going to add virtual machine test, because test virtual machine is just on the same virtual network for testing VM1 and VM2. I'm not going to use virtual machine test to balance my load, so I'm just using these 2 virtual machines to balance the load. So I'll add virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. So once these virtual machines are added, I go ahead and click on add. Okay, my backend pool is created. I go back to load balancer, my LB, backend pools. You see both the backend pools are reflecting this virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. So I go to health probes now, click on add my health probe and I select HTTP here, click on add. Okay, my health probe is also deployed. Now let's jump to load balancing rules and add a load balancing rule. I name it as my load balancing rule. Select front end, select the port as 80, backend port is also 80. Select backend pool, select health probe and click on add. Okay friends, now that I have all the required rules configured in my load balancer, I go back to virtual machines and take the control of virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. While my virtual machine 1 is loading, let's go ahead and load virtual machine 2 as well. Now on virtual machine 1 I need to add the roles, so I click on add roles and features, click next, 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 check mark this web server IIS because I'm making this as a web server, next, 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 install. And I'm going to do same on the virtual machine 2. So this is my virtual machine 2. I click on no, add roles and features, click next, 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 and check mark these web server IIS rules, add features, next, 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 install. Now let's go back to virtual machine 1. It is still installing. Okay, this role is installed, so I close this window and scroll down to taskbar, click on File Explorer, go to drive C, inetpub, www root, and delete these two files. I create a new one, text file, server 1, and save it as HTML. I'm sorry, index.html. Save, close this, and you can delete this text file now. And I'll do the same steps on virtual machine 2. So this role is installed, close this box, scroll down to taskbar, open file manager, go to drive C, inetpub, www root, delete these files, create a new file, server 2, and save it as index.html. Now I close this file and I can delete this text file. Now close this box. You can close both the virtual machines. Now I take the control of my test virtual machine. So I'm not adding IIS services on my test virtual machine because I just need to ping the virtual machines. I am not going to use any IIS services on this. So first of all, let's go to load balancer and check the private IP of load balancer. So the private IP for load balancer is 10.0.0.7. I copy it, go to the virtual machine, which is my test virtual machine. And I open the Internet Explorer. Okay, here I paste the IP address. Okay, you see it is directing to server 1. So I am using private IP because I am not a public user. I am within the network of any office, and I am trying to ping the intranet. I am trying to ping any IP within my infrastructure. I am not trying to ping any IP from outside my infrastructure. So that is why I'm using private IP. So if I am using this load balancer IP 10.0.0.7, it is directing me to server 1, which is VM1. So what I do is I go back to Azure portal, go to virtual machines, and now I stop virtual machine 1. Okay, I see my virtual machine is successfully stopped, so I go back to my test virtual machine and ping the same IP again. You see guys, it is directing to server 2 now. So this is how we balance the load. If server 1 is down or if it is not responding, the load is going to be directed to server 2. So if you are facing any issues while doing the lab, I suggest you go through the video once again, and if you have made it so far, please hit the like button and do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.